Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. First of all, it's my pleasure and my privilege to be hosting the session tonight, Alhamdulillah. On behalf of the Islamic Online University, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today for a webinar, Time Hack. Time is one of the greatest blessings that we are blessed with. To teach us how to efficiently use this blessing, we have with us today Brother Fahad Sarwani, who is the co-founder of and lead trainer at Falaq. With over 13 years of experience in business development, a passion for use to lives of people around him, Brother Fahad is primarily responsible for crafting Falaq's vision and designing Falaq's training and consultancy programs. With more than 2,400 individuals who have benefited from his training and seminars just over the past 2 years, he is an inspirational life coach known for his flagship Discover Your Life workshop and Time Hack seminar. Without taking more of your time, I would now like to invite Brother Fahad to please take over. Brother Fahad, over to you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I welcome you all to this wonderful evening tonight, inshallah, where we'll be talking about this really interesting and dear topic to my heart on time management. Before we continue, I'd really like to express my thanks and appreciation to IOU, Dr. Bilal Phillips, and the entire team for setting this webinar together, inshallah. A lot of efforts in the background that need to be acknowledged, inshallah. May Allah reward you all. So, we're all here, inshallah, to discuss this really important topic of time and time management. And we know here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stressed on the importance of the value of time. From Surah Al-Asr, if you guys recall, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swore by Al-Asr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. And a lot of the scholars of tafsir, they relate this qasam, or this swearing by time, to the eventual loss of the human being. So, in other words, one of the biggest reasons why human beings will be in a state of loss is their lack of value of time, or their weak time management skills, or their lack of appreciation of the time they have. So this is a serious matter. But I also wanted to emphasize here that, inshallah, tonight there's going to be a lot of emphasis on the idea of happiness. And you might be wondering, how does time management have to deal with happiness? If you think about it, one of the biggest problems with people who suffer with lack of time management is the idea of being stressed out, the idea of not having enough time to do the things that you really value, the idea of not being able to balance your different roles. So all of these together really result in negative emotions in the human beings, and this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Taha says, Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa. Allah hasn't sent down this Qur'an for us to be stressed out and miserable. So we as human beings, and especially as Muslims, given the guidance we have of the Qur'an and the teachings of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we should be the ideal example of happiness and the ideal lifestyle for all of humanity to follow, right? And so we should be the best at time management. We should, as Muslims, be the ideal example of what it means to balance between different roles, what it means to manage time, what it means to manage your priorities. So what happens when one doesn't manage time well? Number one, it results in stress. And I'm sure many of you, if not most of you, have experienced this idea of being stressed out, being tied up to the lack of time to get things done, being pressured by different obligations, being pressured by different expectations from people. And this usually gets us into a lot of stress. And this stress is negative energy. That this affects your ibadah, it affects your salah, it's going to affect your relationships with your family, it's going to affect your performance at work, the way you manage your children, your spouse. So stress is a very, very negative energy that is something that shaitan wants us to be in all the time, right? So if you think about it, there's two contrasting emotions. There's happiness, inner peace and joy, which is what Allah wants you to be in. And then on the other extreme, shaitan wants you to be in the complete opposite. He wants you to be in shaqa. He wants you to be stressed out. He wants you to be depressed. He wants you to be upset and angry and lost, right? All of these negative emotions are what shaitan wants you to do. So this is really the battle here. And so why am I talking about this now? The objective of managing time, inshallah, is to give you all that sense of peace and happiness in your lives, inshallah, so that you can live a life of peace and inner peace and happiness, inshallah. So one of the biggest problems we have today is the idea of imbalance. We have so many responsibilities that we need to manage simultaneously. There is the role of, us being students, you guys being students of IOU. There's the role of you probably being sons and daughters. You must have siblings. Some of you may be married, so you have the role of managing spouses. At the same time, many of you may be parents. Besides that, there's so many other roles, like the role of being, taking care of your health, the role of, intellectual growth. And inshallah, we'll talk about all of this later on. But in general, one of the biggest problems we have when it comes to not managing time effectively is that we fall out of balance. When you fall out of balance, again, that results in stress, that results in conflict, that results in people being upset with you, not meeting people's expectations, and all of that negative stuff. Another problem that the ummah at large today is facing is this idea of not honoring our commitments, not being on time, right? Not starting things on time, not making it to appointments and meetings on time. So this idea of valuing our commitments and honoring our words and being on time, right? We need to change this. As an ummah, we need to change this idea of, being on time. Even if like the entire society is used to being late, right? We have to change this. And the change starts with us, inshallah, and you guys being students of Sharia. We should be the example of people who stick to our time, we're disciplined. We need to change this idea of Muslims, when they say inshallah, that means it's going to be done soon, pray for it, and we experience that also in weddings, we experience that in invitations over dinner. When you call your friend and say, I'm going to show up at 6 o'clock, you show up at 6:30, and it's okay. Everyone's casual about that. But we need to change that. We need to, inshallah, be people of discipline. At the same time, many of you will be high achievers. You have really high goals and aspirations in your life. You want to do big things in your life, but you don't have enough time. You're just tied up with so many other things. You don't have time for the important things in your life. And so this workshop, inshallah, or this webinar will also be for you guys out there who really want to do big things with your life and you wish you had more than 24 hours in a day. Now, part one of this webinar will talk about this idea of the grand deception. That's part one, okay? And what is the grand deception? And of course, these are from the works of shaitan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down an entire surah to talk about this deception. And that is the deception of al-takathur. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah al-Takathur, He says, أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ. That takathur has distracted you until you visit your graves. Now, what does takathur mean? Takathur means accumulation of more and more and more and more. And usually, like, this is in a very shallow translation, is usually referred to as accumulating worldly things. But in a broader concept, this idea of takathur, wanting to do more and more and more, wanting to please more and more people, you know, this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, has distracted you. This has gotten you into this mess. And many people stay in that way until they literally visit their graves, until death reaches them. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this beautiful surah ends by saying, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Allah's telling us that there's no doubt about it, then you will be asked about na'im. Now what is na'im? Na'im is bliss, joy, and happiness. Okay, that is what na'im is. And so, you know, an interesting way of looking at this is that the more we get obsessed with this takathur, this idea of doing many things, right? Doing multiple things simultaneously, you know, multitasking, trying to do too many things, trying to take too much burden on yourself, the less we will be in na'im. And so it's as if Allah is telling us that, listen, don't be deceived by this concept of doing so much. It's not about quantity, right? And when you focus on the important and critical things, then your life will be of na'im. If you get deceived by takathur, your life will not be in na'im. You will be asked, how come you didn't live a life of na'im? How come you didn't live a life of joy and happiness and peace? I sent you the Quran, I sent you the Prophet's guidance to give you the ideal lifestyle where you know how to manage your priorities and balance and, you know, manage your time effectively. And therefore, you should have lived a life of na'im. So we will be questioned about this idea of not living a life of na'im due to the deception of this takathur, accumulation of more and more and more. And so this leads us to the contrast between two characters that we will be talking about over and over again today. The first one is Mr. Non-Essentialist, okay? And if you can see from his face, Mr. Non-Essentialist, you know, he's stressed out, he is miserable, he's sad, and obviously he's not happy, right? So there's that blue color of stress there. And the non-essentialist, right, he doesn't focus on the essentials of life. He doesn't prioritize. He doesn't have an idea of what's important, what's not important. He is indulged in takathur, right? He is completely deceived in this takathur of accumulation of more and more. And he has this undisciplined pursuit of more. And, you know, someone like this Mr. Non-Essentialist, many people out there are non-essentialist. And if you want to see what their life is like, pretty much it's just like this person who you just see on the slide now, who is buried in many, many commitments. He has been saying yes to so many things, to so many projects, to so many commitments, and so many people have expectations from him. He's trying to act like Superman, you know, trying to please everybody, trying to do many things. This is the classic example of who a non-essentialist. On the contrast, we have Mr. Essentialist. And inshallah, by the end of the talk today, by the end of this webinar, my hope for all of you, inshallah, all you brothers and sisters, is that you become essentialist, inshallah. Mr. Essentialist is enjoying life. He is balanced. He knows his priorities. He knows his essentials. He has this idea of the disciplined pursuit of less. He focuses on quality, not quantity, and he knows what his priorities are. And as you can see, very, very, you know, happy and peaceful, living a life of na'im. And, you know, Mr. Essentialist, this person, what gives him this idea of clarity, this idea of discipline for the pursuit of less and focusing on essentials, is this clarity in his life, which is, wallahi, this is a blessing that many, many people today are, you know, denied. This idea of having clarity in your life, having clear goals and objectives of what you want to do, a clear vision and purpose of your life, what it is you want to achieve in your life, what are the big priorities of your life, you know. The more clear these things become to you, the more you know how to prioritize. And so one of the biggest reasons we have many non-essentialists today is that there is no clarity in life, right? You ask 9 out of 10 people, you ask them, what is it you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years? They'll be like, you know what, I don't know, actually, I haven't thought about that. You know, so there's this confusion, there's this lack of clarity, lack of vision, lack of purpose. So the non-essentialist, he tries to do a little bit of everything. And there's this saying that when you become the jack of all trades, king of none, right? You try to do many things simultaneously, bits and bits here and there, right? Maybe like 5% effort in multiple directions. And what is the net result? The net result is stress. The net result is depression, this idea of feeling unsatisfied, this idea of feeling unfulfilled, right? Why? Because you're trying to do so many things and you're putting a little bit of effort in every direction and you're lost. You don't know where you want to go. Whereas the essentialist is the complete opposite, right? The essentialist is putting the same amount of effort that the non-essentialist is putting. But only difference is that the essentialist is putting that same amount of effort in one single direction. And so therefore, he has a clear idea and sense of direction of where he wants to go. And that same amount of effort is being put in a single direction on only the essentials in his life. And that is what gives him the idea of happiness and peace and this idea of being at, you know, peace with yourself and satisfied with what you're doing. Now, what is the result and what is the contrast between these two lifestyles? The non-essentialist, obviously, when he tries to do little bits and pieces of everything, the stress is going to go up, and what's going to happen to the quality of work? It's going to go down, right? It's going to go down, and you're not going to get much quality. Whereas on the other side, right, you have the essentialist. The essentialist, since he's focusing only on the quality, he's not stressed. He's focused on the big things that are important in his life, and he knows what to say no to. He knows what things to cut down from his life. Inshallah, we'll talk about that in part 3, inshallah. So it's not about getting more things done, brothers and sisters. The essentialist, inshallah, and the believer gets the right things done. It's not a numbers game. It's about getting the right things done. And you know, this is one of the biggest misconceptions out there about time management. You know, and so many workshops and seminars are taught, and so many tools are shared with people on the idea of getting more things done. You know, and so they're obsessed. So many people are obsessed with, you know, different apps on things to do, and different tracking systems and softwares and all sorts of techniques to get more things done. When you try to do that, right? And there's so many books written about this. Guess what? Eventually, you're going to burn out. Eventually, you're going to live a life of non-essentialism, and you're going to be stressed out, depressed, imbalanced. Why? Because you're just trying to do too many things, and there is no end to what you can do. Wallahi, especially in our digital age, where we have access to anything, anywhere, anytime. Sky is the limit, literally. There's unlimited things you can do, and therefore, now more than ever, it has become extremely important for us to prioritize and filter out the essentials from the non-essentials. So another way of looking at this is that, inshallah, I want you all you brothers and sisters, to be people who think about working smart, not working hard, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, He says in the Quran, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wants ease for us. He doesn't want difficulty for us, right? The Prophet ﷺ would say, يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا. Make things easy, don't make things difficult. Don't put yourself in burdens, right? Don't burden yourself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said in the Quran, لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. That Allah does not burden a soul more than what it can handle. And so take it easy on yourself and think about working smart. Don't be obsessed with working hard. This idea of working hard to achieve success, this idea of working hard to achieve Jannah, right? We have to work hard, no doubt about it. And that the word for that in the Quran is jihad. But jihad doesn't necessarily mean in a negative sense where you're stressed out and you're struggling and you're always like, miserable and in negative energy. That's not what jihad is. This idea of putting effort, but being in a state of enjoyment. You're enjoying this jihad fi sabilillah. You're enjoying putting in the effort in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you're enjoying the fact that you are serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're enjoying the fact that you're inshallah, being rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all your deeds. So it's this idea of working smart, not hard. And also, in Surah Al-Fatiha, we say, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Oh Allah, guide us to the straight path. And, one of the meanings of sirat al-mustaqim is the straight, simple path, right? Our deen is simple. The way to Jannah is easy, it's simple, it's not complicated. The more we complicate things on ourselves, the more we get stressed out and the more we have to blame ourselves, right? You can't blame this deen for being difficult and complicated. It is us who have gotten ourselves into this mess. And so to summarize the difference between these two characters, right? The essentialist and the non-essentialist. You'll have to look at the slide and inshallah it will summarize pretty much the entire webinar today. So Mr. Non-essentialist, to start with, he says, I have to, all the time. This word have to is a very common word in his dictionary. Whereas the essentialist, mashallah, he is smart, right? He knows, he or she, they know exactly what they want and they choose to do the things that mean. They choose to do the things that are meaningful. They choose to do the things that matter. And another attitude of this non-essentialist is it's all important. Everything's important. Everything. There's 1,000 ways to get ajr. There's 1,000 ways to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm going to do all of them. That's the attitude of the non-essentialist. Whereas the essentialist, he does the few things that matter. And he does the few things that he can in terms of his own capacity. The non-essentialist says, how can I fit it all in? Whereas the essentialist is always thinking about the trade-offs. He's always thinking about, okay, what if I do this? What's the reward for this versus that? What's the benefit of this versus that? Where is there more ajr? What's a bigger priority in the deen? What does Quran emphasize on more, right? So this idea of trading off and opportunity costs. Where this difference is this idea of the undisciplined pursuit of more in the case of the non-essentialist, in contrast to the disciplined pursuit of less. And we talked about this earlier. The non-essentialist is also, he can't say no, right? He's always saying yes without thinking. Anytime someone asks him for a favor, to do something, to join a project, to join a cause, volunteer for something, he's always like, yes, sure, inshallah, yes, 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 yes. And then he gets overloaded with all these yeses. Whereas the essentialist, he pauses to discern what matters. He or she, they think about this idea of, can I commit to this or not? Does it fit in line with my objectives? Do I have time to do this? Am I going to be able to fulfill this commitment? Because once the essentialist, he thinks about this idea of commitment. Once you commit to something, you got to do it. And so they don't just throw out the yeses without thinking. They stop and they think very, very carefully and they evaluate before they decide to commit. And the non-essentialist, it's all about forcing execution. Notice these words that are highlighted in bold, right? Force. There's this idea of forcing execution. You're forcing yourself. You're stressing yourself out. And in contrast, the essentialist, he's just removing obstacles for ease. It's a smooth ride for the essentialist. In the non-essentialist case, things are out of control because there's just too many things to juggle. Whereas the essentialist, he's in full control, knows exactly what he wants, and he has full control over things. And last but not least, the non-essentialist obviously is always exhausted. He's always, in terms of the idea of sleep, right? He's always lacking sleep, always low on energy, always stressed out, always having conflict and problems. And many of them have to deal with the idea of not honoring commitments and not giving people time, right? So for example, If you claim to be a good husband, you got to give time to your wife, right? Same thing with the wife. You want to be a good wife, you have to give time to your husband. You want to be good parents, you have to give time to your kids. You want to be good in your work, you have to give time to your work. You want to take care of your health, you got to give time to your body. You want to learn something new, you got to give time. You got to put in the time. So this non-essentialist is always exhausted because he's trying to do so many things. Whereas for the essentialist, mashallah, he's happy. You see the big teeth, right? He's cool, he's enjoying life, it's smooth life, and it's a joyful journey. He's enjoying that journey towards his ultimate objectives. So why is it everywhere? Why is this non-essentialism everywhere? Why are most people miserable? Most people are, stressed out. They're in this negative energy. Why is it everywhere? Due to many things. One of them being the fact that there's too many choices today, right? With the advent of the internet and Google and YouTube and Facebook and all these things, there's like this opinion overload where there's just too many choices to make. There's this social pressure and opinion overload to get so many things done, right? There's so many lectures to listen to. There's so many new things to learn. There's so many books to read, right? There's so many halaqat to attend. There's no end to it, right? There's just so much out there, and we've been flooded with this. Another idea here is this idea of priorities, right? Back in the days, when this word priority was introduced in the English language, it was just one priority, right? And it was in the singular form. Only with time did the singular form change into what is known today as priorities. There's so many priorities today. Whereas back then, you used to only, priority was just one priority. Now you have like 10 priorities in your life, right? And that defeats the purpose of this word, because in essence, your life is supposed to be about very few priorities. Now, in summary also, Mr. Non-Essentialist, this stressed out guy, he's trying to do everything. Why? Because he wants to be popular, he wants to please people, and he wants to do it when? Now. He's trying to do everything simultaneously, and guess what? That center point that's like the highest point of frustration. That's where people burn out. That's where people, by the way, suffer a lot of physical diseases. A lot of illnesses today are a result of stress. Studies have shown that even diseases like cancer are a result of stress in your life, lack of sleep, and depression, and all these things. So these are serious consequences, right? This idea of managing your life and time, this can have serious implications even on your health. Not to exclude even relationships. So many marriages are broken because of lack of time management. So many children end up going down the wrong track because parents don't manage time effectively with their children. And the list goes on and on and on. The other thing here is this idea of the contrast, right? Mr. Essentialist, mashallah, he is doing what? The right things only. Why is he doing them? For the right reason. He has a clear idea of what his intentions are, and he is very clear about his niyyah and the purpose. And when is he doing these things? At the right time. So Mr. Essentialist, mashallah, he evaluates things very carefully, does the right thing at the right time and for the right reason, and that's where you get the highest point of contribution. And this is what is known in the Arabic language as hikmah, right? Wisdom, to do the right thing at the right time for the right reason. And so, we as believers, inshallah, should set the example of wisdom, being wise people, being people who don't get distracted, right? Don't get obsessed with this takathur. So we're done with part one. So part one, in summary, was about this idea of being deceived with doing more, the undisciplined pursuit of more, in contrast to the disciplined pursuit of less. Part two, inshallah, we'll be talking about balance, okay? This idea of balance. And, time management today, more than ever, has become about managing your life, right? It's more about life management rather than just time management. Because guess what? If you're not able to manage your time, your life will be a mess, right? The consequences, like I just told you earlier, has implications on every single aspect of your life, right? From your health to your relationships to your emotions to your children to your spouses, your siblings. And this can have serious, serious implications when it comes to even our rights and responsibilities towards each other, right? So this idea of balance, let's drill down, inshallah, and talk about this more. So if you look at this slide now, right? On the left side, you see what is known as compartments. And usually many books in the West are written about this idea of balancing your life, right? In these different areas, right? So if you see the compartments, there's 8 compartments here. Again, that's just an example, right? So 8 compartments of your life that you need to balance simultaneously. And just to go over them very quickly, so on the one hand, there is physical, right? You need to take care of your health, your nutrition. There's the spiritual element, your ibadah, your spirituality, your iman, your tazkiyah, your purification. Then you have the compartment of intellectual growth. This is where you're learning. IOU fits into this probably, right? With a bit of definitely spirituality there also. That's where, you know, intellectual compartment is where the books, reading books is there, attending halaqat, attending durus, going to lectures. That's the intellectual part. Even maybe watching, you know, lectures on YouTube and stuff like that. And then there's the emotional compartment. That's where, you know, your happiness, your peace, your, you know, emotions of love and in relationships, that's where that fits in. Family is where, you know, you're managing your rights towards your parents, the rights towards your spouses, your children, your siblings, and your, you know, extended family, the salatul rahim part of this deen, right? That's the family. And then there's work, of course, right? Work, especially for the males, right? The brothers, right? You have an obligation to be like a breadwinner. You need to put food on the table for the family. Whereas the women, for you, this is like an optional thing, right? For you, mashallah, everything is taken care of since you're born. Your parents take care of you. Your father is responsible for you when you're young, and then inshallah, when you get married, your husband is responsible for you. But everything is taken care of for the female, mashallah, right? What a beautiful deen that honors women. And then you have the compartment of community. This is where, you know, voluntary work comes into play. This is where the rights of the neighbors comes in. This is where you gotta take care of, you know, your social service and giving back to society, right? And then there is also a very, very important aspect, which is social and fun, right? I put both those in one compartment. This is the aspect of enjoying, right? A believer, a Muslim, a mu'min doesn't have to be serious all the time, guys, right? There is time also for enjoyment. And of course, when I say enjoyment, that's within the limits that Allah has put for us, within hududullah, within the restrictions that we have. There is 1,001 ways to be happy and enjoy it, right? You can hang out with friends and do a lot of halal fun activities. You don't have to be reading Quran and praying tahajjud and making dua all the time, 24/7, right? Your nafs has a right upon you. Your friends have a right upon you. You need time off sometimes. The Prophet ﷺ would say, sa'atan wa sa'a. There's a time for seriousness and a time for yourself, time for relaxation, time for sleep also, you know, time for all of these things. Now, alhamdulillah, you know, Allah guided me to this other approach to managing your life, right? And if you notice that, there is a major, major difference in the idea that in the right side, we have taken out the spiritual compartment, okay? And what we did instead was we took the spiritual compartment actually became a fundamental part of, or the core of our life, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the center of our life. And therefore, this idea of spirituality being just a compartment, you know, that is not really the teachings of the Quran and the Prophet ﷺ, right? If our spirituality is dead, we are dead, right? We are nothing without our spirituality. So in the left model, right, the model or methodology on the left side, that is the Western methodology, where spirituality is usually just a compartment, meditation is just an optional thing you can do for well-being. You know, they use all these fancy terms. Whereas for us, spirituality is the core. right? Ubudiyya is the core. Our relationship with Allah is the core, and Allah is the center of our life. And notice that on the left side, you have become the center of your life, which can be problematic. This is where, things like ego issues arise, right? Where you start to believe that you are the center of the universe, and it is your health and your intellectual growth and my family and my work and my job and my social project and my voluntary work and my friends. It's all about me, myself, right? And this boosts your ego. This takabbur starts, being implanted in our hearts, which is extremely, extremely dangerous. Just to remind you, the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. That he will not enter Jannah who has even an atom's weight of arrogance in their heart. And so we have to be humble, right? The complete opposite of ego and arrogance is humility. And that is what a abd of Allah is, right? The slave of Allah is humble, and he realizes that he is nothing, and everything revolves around Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so in Sharia, right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over and over again stresses on this idea of huquq al-ibad in the Quran and in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. This idea of huquq al-ibad, huquq Allah, and huquq al-nafs, these three things. Unfortunately, another problem we have lately is this idea of neglecting the huquq al-nafs, which we'll talk about later. But for the time being, if you look at the screen, right, on the left side you see different shades. So the red colors are the problem colors, right? This is where you go below what's required, like below the minimum performance level, right? The center line is the minimum you need to do in different roles of your life, the bare minimum, right? Which will, inshallah, help you pass in your duties and responsibilities in this role. So, for example, one of the columns could be work, the other column could be health, the third column could be your salah, the fourth column could be, I don't know, the rights of the wife, or your children, or community service. And so all of these things, all of these roles, each column represents a different role. And this is what our life usually looks like, right? We have certain areas where we're doing adl, we're doing justice, we're doing the bare minimum to pass. And in certain areas, we're actually not fulfilling our obligations. We're going below the minimum performance level, and that's where we go into trouble. That's the red area. Whereas the greens, this is the ihsan, this is the excellence. These are the things that you're excelling in. And usually what happens is, this is human nature. When you try to excel in one thing, that usually impacts other roles where you start doing dhulm. And so this idea of balance in this is critical. And by the way, this is pretty much what our scorecard on the Day of Judgment would probably look like, right? Where, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold us accountable for all these different roles. كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته, the Prophet ﷺ said. Every single one of you is a shepherd, and we will be questioned about our sheep. And so we will be questioned about these roles, right? We'll be questioned, did you pass? Did you fail? Did you do ihsan? And guess what? If we fail in any one of these roles, then we're in pretty much big trouble, right? We don't want to be questioned. We want to be, inshallah, breezing through hisab, inshallah, on the Day of Judgment, without any questioning, without any accountability. So what is the most neglected role? It's the role of self, right? This idea of neglecting yourself. So like I said earlier, there's different types of huquq when it comes to our sharia, right? There's huquq Allah, which is obviously the foundation, right? The rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rights of, believing in Him alone, not associating partners with Him, and fulfilling our, ibadat with Him, the 5 pillars of Islam, the 6 pillars of Iman, all of this, right? Iman billah and bil risala and al-akhirah. That is our rights towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have to fulfill. The previous slide, we saw some elements of huquq al-ibad, which is the second area of responsibility. Our rights towards others around us, right? Our parents, our children, our neighbors, our friends, our teachers, our bosses, and all of that. And this third aspect, which is very much neglected nowadays is this idea of حقوق النفس. And Prophet ﷺ said to us, you all probably know the story of the Sahabi who tried to stay up all night. He's tried to fast all day. He said, I'm not going to get married. I'm going to be fasting every day and praying tahajjud all night. And he started doing dhulm al-nafs. That's known as dhulm al-nafs, doing wrong to your nafs. And this is not what Allah wants, right? Allah will hold us accountable for being zalim to our anfus. And so this is basically a summary of what your self looks like, right? We got to take care of ourselves. Your self has a right upon you, right? And this idea of not managing yourself, not doing wrong to yourself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَظْلِمُ النَّاسَ شَيْئًا وَلَكِنَّ النَّاسَ أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. Allah doesn't wrong people, right? We wrong ourselves. And usually when do we wrong ourselves? We wrong ourselves when it comes to not realizing the balance, right? Not realizing the importance of balance. When yes, we're doing حقوق Allah, حقوق العباد, but at the expense of yourself. Okay, and this is where we end up falling into stress. So we're done with part 2, alhamdulillah. So just to recap, part 1 was Alhaakum Takathur, right? The grand deception. It's not about more, it's about less, it's about doing what's essential, quality over quantity, and essentialism over non-essentialism. Part 2, which we just covered, was about balance, this idea of understanding the different roles that we have to play, right? حقوق الله, حقوق العباد, and حقوق النفس. These three simultaneously have to be taken care of. Part 3 is the juicy part. So if you've been sleeping, now is the time to wake up, because now is really the juicy part and the most important part. This is the part of elimination, right? So now that you know that you got to live a life of essentialism, and you have all of these obligations and roles and responsibilities that you have to fulfill, now is the time to understand how to eliminate. Because again, there's just so many things in your life, there has to be this process of elimination. Okay, and to get into that, inshallah, I will give you an exercise to follow, inshallah. Okay, this exercise, I want you to take 3 minutes. Get out a piece of pen and paper, or get your laptop notepad on, or your phone notepad on, and I want you to imagine, and this is again for the sake of just this example, right? I don't mean any harm to anybody here, right? But imagine, just for the sake of this example, that you have a very bad tumor in your head. You have this headache and migraine. You go and check out a neuroscientist. These doctors are specialized in the brain, and the doctor tells you, what, I have bad news for you. I'm sorry to say, but you don't have much time left. There's a tumor in your brain. It's spreading very, very fast, and you probably, have just a month to live, right? Just over a month to live. So imagine June 22 is the date of your death, right? Imagine you had 1 month to live. I want you to write down, take 3 minutes and write down, what are the changes that you're going to make in your life? What are the things that you're going to start to do? What are the things that you're going to stop doing, right? And just focus on and try to live the moment, right? Take this exercise very seriously. You have 1 month to live, alhamdulillah. This is your chance to do the essentials, right? Start writing down, and inshallah, I'll start the timer now. You got 3 minutes to write down what's something different you're going to do with your life if you had 1 month to live. So the time starts now. Really think about it deeply and try to think about all the different roles. take this positively. Don't go into depression and focus on death. Focus on what it is you can do differently. You've got a chance, so focus on what you can do, inshallah. We're halfway there, so keep writing. Try to think about essentials. Also think about what are the things you're going to be dropping. All right, 1 more minute left, inshallah. All right. Alhamdulillah, time is up. And I'm sure this was like a pretty important exercise for all of you, right? This idea of just thinking about this stuff. Usually, like, we rarely have time to think about these things, and we get so distracted with time, and life just flies by, time flies by without us even realizing the importance of thinking about these important things. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ has told us to visit the graves often, if you think about it, right? Because it reminds you of death, it reminds you of your priorities. And the Prophet ﷺ has called death Hadim al-Ladhat, right? The destroyer of temptations, because we're just tempted to do so many things. We're tempted to accumulate more and more. We're tempted by shaitan to do things that are distractive, and we're living in the age of entertainment and distractions and social pressure, and focusing on essentials has become so difficult. But visiting the graves and remembering death is a very healthy exercise that I highly recommend, of course, all of you to inshallah continuously do. Okay, so inshallah we'll come back to your list, but for the sake of inshallah the webinar will continue now with this example of the big rocks in life, right? And for those of you who don't know what this example is about, basically it's usually like a metaphor that's used. Once a teacher sat in a classroom and he challenged the students to try to put in all the rocks and all the sand in this piece of jar, right? Or this glass, this big glass. And so most students put in the sand first, and then they ended up with too many rocks that wouldn't fit in the jar. And then by the end of the example, the teacher tells them the smart way to do this. Instead of putting the sand first, you got to put in the big rocks of your life first, right? And so what the big rocks in life represent the essentials of your life. This is where, family, your deen, of course, your iman, and all this, like these important essentials, your health, your taqwa, your intellectual growth, and your all of these important things come in first, and then the sand comes in. and then you have a jar filled with all these like rocks and sand. I actually disagree with that example. I actually think that, you know, we need to skip the sand, right? If things are non-essential, why even bother doing them, right? So just keep the big rocks in the jar and let that enjoy that empty space, which the Prophet ﷺ has told us that there's two ni'mas, ni'matan maghbunun fihima kathir min an-nas, الصحة والفراغ. There's two blessings, two gifts that Allah has given us that most people don't really take care of much. One is health, the other is free time. And so the Prophet ﷺ has taught us that free time is actually a ni'mah, it's a blessing. So don't waste it. So in the example of the jar, right, if you have these big rocks and there's like empty space in between, leave that empty space, right? Don't fill your life up with the sand. You don't need the sand in your life. The sand represents the non-essentials that is just going to increase your stress out, right? It's going to get you into the non-essentialism. So leave the free time for things that matter more, okay? And so this idea of elimination, right? Movie directors use it all the time. When it comes to making movies, when it comes to direction, right? There's always so much footage that's recorded, but what comes out in the end, in the movie or the documentary, is just the essential scenes, the essentials that make the message more effective. Everything else that's extra, all the, you know, the fat, the excess that's unnecessary is eliminated, okay? And also this idea of elimination is also used when it comes to deciding, right? Decision in the Latin language, right? Decision, the word cis actually means to kill or eliminate, right? And that's really how we make decisions. Let's say you want to decide to have either a shawarma or biryani or ice cream, right? The process of elimination works, and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna have ice cream, I don't want to have biryani. So you cancel biryani, you cancel shawarma, and you have ice cream. And so even decisions comes from elimination. You eliminate the choices and come down to one choice. Now we come into the important discussion of important versus urgent, okay? You want to know what's, a lot of people, they confuse these two terms. They think that important also means urgent, and there's just a lot of confusion. And in a lot of books also, they use this word without defining it. Whereas us, we need to define these words to be able to distinguish. So from now on, inshallah, I want you all to you know, if you agree to my theory, right, stick to these definitions going forward. Important is everything that takes you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Everything that makes you, you know, gets you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fulfills your role of Abdullah, that is important for you. And everything else that is not taking close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is not important going forward. Urgent is simply something that if you don't do now, you cannot do later, okay? So it's a matter of urgency, meaning if I don't do it now, I cannot do it later, okay? So that is really the difference between these two. And, you know, a very common tool that's used in the time management science, right, is this idea of having 4 quadrants in your life. And these 4 quadrants represent time in your life, right? Or time in your day. And remember, if you are not able to manage your day, your week will be a mess. If you're not able to manage your week, your month will be a mess. If you're not able to manage your month, your year will be a mess. If you're not able to manage your year, your entire life will be a mess. So it all boils down to, like, your life boils down to how you manage every single day, how you manage every single week of your life, how every single day passes by, right? And so our life is really comprised of these, you know, activities that fall into any one of these 4 categories. On the top left, you have the Q1s of our life, the important and urgent things. So for example, it's time for salah. You know, for the brothers, it's time for jama'ah. Adhan has gone off. Iqamah is about to start in 5 minutes. Now the salatul, you know, I don't know, Fajr is Q1 for you. You got to leave everything aside. And we saw this with the Prophet ﷺ, right? He would be sitting with his family, playing with his children, spending time with his family. But the moment the adhan would go off, he would get up and leave as if he was a complete stranger, right? Why? Because he understood what Q1 was for him. And the Q1s are these things that are important and urgent. If we don't pray Jama'ah now, you're going to miss it, basically. Okay? Let's say another example of this is, imagine that like my wife calls me and she's like, you know, I really need to go to a doctor. I'm having this serious pain. I have got to leave everything aside, including this webinar, probably, right? Imagine like my wife called me now and she said, you know, I really need to go to hospital. Maybe I'm going to have to ask the volunteers to excuse me to cut this webinar short. Why? Because yes, teaching is important and all this, but you know, my wife needs to go to the hospital, guys, right? And I'm sure you guys will understand, right? And you will forgive me, inshallah, for this, and we can make it up sometime, inshallah. But so those are the Q1s. Moving on to the Q2s. Q2s are things that are important but not urgent. And if you look at that experiment we just did with that exercise where we wrote down the essentials of your life, the Q2s usually are the things that we keep procrastinating on. These are the things that we keep delaying. These are the things that Shaitan wants us to delay. Inshallah tomorrow, inshallah next week, inshallah next month, inshallah next year, inshallah someday, and that day never comes, right? And these are the important things in life that usually are neglected. Okay, things like, I don't know, maybe some of you have this goal of memorizing Quran. That's a Q2, right? You keep it in the back burner. You keep it delayed, right? It's important for you. You really want to do it, but it's not really there. For some of you, it could be Hajj. You can afford to go to Hajj, but you keep delaying it. No, inshallah next year, inshallah the year after. It's important, but it's not urgent. Therefore, you keep delaying it. So there's different things that fall into Q2. Q3 are not important things that are urgent. A classic example of this is, you know, a water leak in your house, right? So for me to fix the water leak in my house, I don't see it as important, right? Personally, because I'd rather do some other important things. And I'd rather delegate this task to someone else, right? So this is Q3 usually has, the smart people, they delegate the Q3s. You hire a plumber to do these, you know, pipe leaks and water leaks in your house. When a bulb doesn't work or there's some electric fault in your house, I honestly can't be bothered. I don't think, personally, I would rather do something else that takes me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rather than fix a bulb. Although you can creatively make that connection, but I prefer not to, and therefore I would delegate this to someone else. That's why, with all due respect to secretaries, that is a job. That's why CEOs of companies and leaders and big managers, they usually have secretaries to do the Q3s, to send the faxes, the emails, the you know, the like non-essentials, so that the CEO can focus on the big things, the big decisions, the board meetings, and the strategy for the company and all that kind of stuff. The Q4, this is like the big one here. Q4s, we are flooded with Q4s in our life. These are things that are not important and not urgent. Classic example of this is playing games on your phone, right? Not going to take you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Totally not urgent. If you don't play it now, you can play later. You can play next week. You can choose not to play. TV, you know, television in general, right? I consider that a major Q4, especially if you're watching, if you're not watching things that take you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're watching, like, I don't know, Huda TV, Peace TV or something, maybe, you know, there's this element of importance. It is taking you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So great, continue doing that. But if you're watching TV shows, comedy shows, useless dramas that, you know, are just adding more and more misery and sadness and stress in your life, playing around with your negative emotions. If you're addicted to news that's all about negative energy, then may Allah help you. If you are someone who likes to watch 6 hours of cricket matches, then may Allah help you. If you like to watch 3 hours of football every night, may Allah help you. If you like to spend 2 hours smoking shisha every night with your friends, may Allah help you. These are all Q4s that so many people are, you know, flooded with, they're addicted with. Entertainment in general falls into this. And by the way, interesting fact, the French word for entertainment is distraction, which literally means distraction, right? So that is how they define entertainment, the word distraction. So what is entertainment? Is nothing but distraction, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls this lahu in the Quran. Lahu. And one of the believers, one of the signs of the believers in Surah Al-Mu'minun, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. Distractive talk, right? The believers, they stay away from distractive talk. They turn away from distractive talk. And lahu is distractive actions, right? So distractive talk is lahu in the Quran, and distractive actions are lahu, which is entertainment. So these are the 4 quadrants. Now, inshallah, starting tomorrow, if not tonight, any activity that you do, you will be able to label in one of these. Starting from the moment you wake up and brush your teeth, right? Brushing your teeth is definitely, I would say, a Q2, right? You don't brush your teeth, you're gonna have bad health and all that, and it's important. It's not urgent because you can brush your teeth later, but you choose to do it. You know, going to the bathroom, sleeping, going to work, going to school, studying for exam, eating lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner, exercising, reading Quran, Salah, you name it, spending time with your kids, helping them with homework, cooking, going for a walk, spending time with friends, you know, getting groceries, any activity would fall into one of these. An interesting thing here to add also is that the nature of Q2s is that usually if you ignore these Q2s, they eventually become, one day they will become Q1s in your life, okay? Let me give an example of this. Let's say, for example, your teacher gave you a project to complete, and he gave you a 1-month time period to complete this project. Now, usually 9 out of 10 students, what do? They keep delaying these projects, right? And they keep you know, saying, inshallah tomorrow, inshallah tomorrow, inshallah tomorrow. And then usually what happens is the last night, 1 day before the deadline, they have caffeine pills and several espresso shots, stay up all night, do a lousy job, right, with their homework and get it done, right? So what happened was, it was a Q2 for a month, but if you keep delaying it, it becomes a Q1. Same thing applies to your health. If you keep delaying exercise, you keep delaying having a, you know, good nutrition and diet, lifestyle, then one day you're gonna probably end up with cholesterol problems, diabetes, I don't know, sugar, and all these health problems, and then it's gonna become a Q1 for you. Your health will become a Q1 because you're gonna see the hospital regularly, you're gonna have medication. All of a sudden, what was Q2, because you kept ignoring it, became a Q1. And that's called firefighting, basically, when you just react, right? You wait for disasters to happen and you react to it. Last example of this is parenting, right? If you keep delaying, I will spend quality time with my kids one day, inshallah. I will teach my kids Quran one day, inshallah. I will teach my kids Seerah one day, inshallah. And you keep delaying it, right? You don't have time for your kids. You're always distracted with negative things and distractive things. One day, you're going to find out your child, your son, smokes, or your daughter has a boyfriend, or some disaster, right? And then all of a sudden, you're going to react to that and say, oh my God, this is a Q1, I need to take care of my kids. And you're going to go see counselors and imams of masjids and scholars to try to help you with your children. Please, please, please help my child. He's smoking. He's addicted to drugs. My daughter, she is, you know, she has a boyfriend and this and that, and she's pregnant. All these Q1s come as a result of ignoring Q2s. And Q1s, you have to realize there's 2 types, right? There's internal Q1s and there's external Q1s. Internal Q1s are Q1s that you kept delaying, right? And you are to blame for those. Similar to the examples we just gave. Q2s that you keep delaying eventually become Q1s, and you are to blame for that because you kept delaying. Whereas there are certain Q1s that are external that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And these are known as tests. Allah calls this bala in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from time to time to test the believers. Obviously, life is a test, right? This is the fundamental message of the Quran, that life is a test. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the higher your iman, He will test you. And you as believers need to, you know, inshallah, enjoy these tests without being stressed out, without being negatively, you know, affected with these tests. You need to pass these tests with flying colors because you know life is a test. This life is just a couple of years. And inshallah, after we die, we will be raised, and inshallah, we'll spend the rest of our lives in the Firdaus al-A'la bi'idhnillah, all of us together, inshallah. So external Q1s are unavoidable, right? Death in the family, that's a complete external Q1, right? Nothing you can do about it. Whatever plans you've had, if like your, let's say one of your parents passed away, or your aunt passed away, or someone passed away very near and dear to you, your cousin, khalas, everything else becomes unimportant. Now you have to go to the janazah, you have to pay respects to the family, condolences. It became a Q1. It came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is unavoidable. Okay. Now this next slide here is very, very important. Pay attention to it. So if we summarize all of our actions in life, all of our activities, they're either boiled down to the things that are important or not important, right? And then the important things, some of them we are doing, some of them we're not doing, right? The things that you're doing, great. The things that you're not doing that are important, these are probably the things on your paper. You know, the exercise we just did, where if you have 1 month to live, there are probably things that are important that you're not doing, that you keep delaying. Of course, things that are not important, I'm not going to even talk about that, right? So items number 5 till 8, we're not even going to talk about that. These are completely useless things. Inshallah, none of you are doing these things, right? Most sins fall into these categories. Distractions, lahu, like we said, ghiba, backbiting, watching shameless things online, on TV, bad habits, smoking, I don't know, cheating, going to, inappropriate places, having inappropriate relationships, everything that's basically outside the hudud of Allah, outside the, what's allowed in Islam, is probably falling into the 5, 6, 7, 8 categories. So what's interesting here is Mr. Essentialist. We saw him again, the guy with the smiley teeth, right? The smiley face, which inshallah all of you should be like, inshallah, going forward. What does he do? He focuses on only things that are important and that he likes to do, right? Things that are important that he likes to do. Things that are important that he doesn't like to do, probably he's delegating to others. Whereas the non-essentialist, he's usually stuck with things that are not important or things that he does not like to do, okay? And so for example, a classic example here is waking up for Fajr, right? Definitely important. Inshallah, we have to be doing it, right? But for a lot of people, they don't like to wake up for Fajr. That's a problem, right? What do we need to change here, right? Can we say that since you don't like it, don't do it? Obviously not, right? What you need to change is your attitude, your perception of Salat al-Fajr, right? Instead of thinking of it as a drag, instead of thinking of it as something difficult, you got to think of the benefits of Fajr, benefits of waking up, the energy, the impact it's going to have on your iman, and the barakah, and all of these positive things. Inshallah, move it up from grid line 2 to grid line number 1. And inshallah, all of our ibadat, salah, inshallah, Ramadan's coming up, zakat, all deeds, all good deeds should fall into the category number 1, right? Things that are important that we're doing and we love to do them. And this is, the word for that in the Arabic language is ta'a, right? Ta'a, which means to do something lovingly. The opposite of ta'a in the Arabic language is kurh, right? Hating to do something. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La ikraha fi din. There's no compulsion in religion. But this also means you're not expected to do anything that you hate in this deen. You're supposed to pray lovingly. You're supposed to love praying. You're supposed to give zakat lovingly. You're supposed to give sadaqat lovingly. You're supposed to, volunteer for a cause lovingly and happily. You're supposed to be very righteous and good to your parents lovingly and righteously. That's why the word uff, we're not supposed to say, because what does uff mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ, right? Don't say to them even uff, because uff is a sign of kurh, right? You're not obeying your parents happily and lovingly. You're obeying them with this negative attitude, right? And so the idea here is Allah didn't say obey your parents. He says don't say uff to them. Don't ever do anything for them without being happy about it. You gotta like to obey your parents. You gotta like to serve your parents. You like to, and so it applies to everything. Salah, right? If your dua, reading Quran, all of these things, we need to change the way we look at these things, and we need to enjoy them. We need to move them all into category number one, inshallah. And a lot of people, unfortunately, due to lack of understanding of this deen, they don't have that connection between ibadah and love, right? For them, ibadah is very dry. It's just some rituals that you do without even understanding why you're doing them. That's when salah has no khushu' in it. That's when you're reading Quran without understanding. That's when, you know, you don't have the proper understanding of this deen. It's so important for us to understand that Allah wants us to be happy. He wants us to enjoy, and He wants us to understand that every single thing that He has asked us to do is for our own benefit, and we should be happily doing them. And every single thing that He has prohibited us from doing is for our own benefit, and we should hate doing them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانَ وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has beautified Iman to us and made it beautiful and decorated it for us in our hearts. And He had made, you know, kufr and fusuq and isyan, disobedience, disbelief, and, you know, all these sins that you commit, these are supposed to be hated to you. These are things that you detest in your heart, right? This is by fitrah. So, Mr. Non-Essentialist, what does his life look like? Miskeen, you know, poor guy. He is flooded with Q4s in his life, if you see in the quadrant, right? And obviously there's a lot of Q1s also. Why? Because he keeps delaying the Q4s, or he keeps delaying Q2s. At the same time, he also has a lot of Q3s, not important things that he's doing. So most of his time is just wasted with Q4s. He does a bit of Q1s because he has to, because they're urgent. And he's flooded with Q3s. He has no sense of delegation. He has no sense of, you know, being able to say no to things. And so miskeen, this non-essentialist, if you notice, has no time for Q2s. Wallahi, this is sad. And this is the sad reality of many, many people today, including Muslims. You know, why? Because of lack of time management. Whereas on the other side, mashallah, Mr. Essentialist, right? May Allah make us all of this Mr. Essentialist, right? He, mashallah, is totally focused on the essentials in life. He's focused on the Q2s of life. And he's dedicated most of his life to the Q2s, because these are the things that matter. These are the essentials. These are what matter to him, right? These are the big rocks in life. And these are the things that are going to take him closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the things that most people procrastinate on. These are things that if he does, inshallah, he wouldn't be afraid to die, right? Because he's already driving along the road. He's already doing whatever he wants. Our deen is not about results. It's about driving along the road. It's about putting in the effort. And so obviously there will be Q1s, right? There will be some external Q1s that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's going to deal with them happily and appropriately. Whereas most of his life is Q2s. If you notice, there's no Q4s in his life. He has no time to waste, right? Does this mean he doesn't enjoy? Obviously not, right? For him, enjoyment is part of his Q2s. And I believe the same also. For me to spend quality time with my friends, to play football, or I don't know, to go out for some nice dinner, or just hang out, that is a Q2. I need that from time to time. I need time off from home, need time off from work. And so Q2, so fun can be a Q2, okay? As long as it's halal, obviously, right? So this is really the objective, brothers and sisters. And now when it comes to practicality, right? How do you make Q2s fit into your schedules? You have to start using calendars, right? And most of you have smartphones today, you have laptops, PCs, whatever. Use these tools. You know, you have to start jotting down these appointments in your calendar, things to do. Use those lists, right? Put down your commitments. And what TR here means, time restricted, right? So you give time restrict your Q2s and treat them like Q1s. Okay? So the way to get Q2s done in your life is to time restrict them, add them in a calendar, put an appointment, use reminders. There's so many tools that we can benefit from in today's gadget age, right? Use these tools, put down appointment, and then treat them like Q1s. And here also, when it comes to, for example, let's say tomorrow you decide you want to go out for a walk after Fajr, a 5-kilometer walk after Fajr, right? Put it in the calendar, right? Put it in your calendar as an appointment with yourself. Don't just put in your calendar appointments with others, even yourself, right? Time for yourself, time for reading, put it in the calendar. Time to spend with kids, put it in the calendar. Time for a romantic like dinner with your wife, put it in the calendar. That is also part of ibadah. Remember, when it comes to important things, these are all things that are ibadah, right? Things that take you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, you know, our concept of ibadah is much, much broader than just the acts of worship like salah, saum, zakat, and hajj. Our concept of ibadah is that exercise is also ibadah. Spending time with your kids is also ibadah. Going out with your wife on a nice romantic candlelight dinner is also ibadah. Cooking food for your children and your husband, and you know, is also ibadah. Going to work and fulfilling the rights that you have towards your employer is also ibadah. You know, so our idea of ibadah is very, very much broad. So add these Q2s in your calendar, treat them like Q1s, you know, especially when it comes to yourself. And you know, I love this quote by Stephen Covey, who's one of the leaders of the Western self-development world, where he says, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Beautiful quote. Okay, so I read it again. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Time management, life management is all about priorities. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُنَبَّأُ الْإِنسَانُ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِمَا قَدَّمَ وَأَخَّرَ. In Surah Al-Qiyamah, Allah says that on that day, the insan, the human being, the forgetful human being, will be told, he will be given the news, the important news of what he gave a priority and what he put in the back burner. بِمَا قَدَّمَ وَأَخَّرَ. قَدَّمَ means what he did, أَخَّر means what he delayed. Subhanallah, what a beautiful ayah that sums pretty much our entire workshop, really, wallahi. You know, this ayah, and for ayah number 13 of Surah Al-Qiyamah, Allah's telling us that in our life, there are things that we put forward, that we give a priority to, that we favor, and then there's things that we do ta'khir to, things that we delay, things that we procrastinate on, things that we keep in the back burner, right? And so Allah says in Yawm al-Qiyamah, we will be given the news of what we put forward and what we put back. And for many people, that will be a day of regret, but inshallah for us, this will be a day of happiness and joy, because we will inshallah be people who know what to do taqdeem to. Right? We will inshallah know what are the essentials, and we've given priorities to the essentials, and we have eliminated the non-essentials from our life. Now we come to also a very, very interesting part before we end, okay? This is like a bonus round, right? Where I'm going to give you some tips on how to say no, because this is another problem we have today. Saying no is an art, actually, right? And of course, you shouldn't be rude when you say no, because that is not the khuluq of the Prophet ﷺ. That is not what the Prophet ﷺ has taught us. But you need to, we call it the graceful no, right? Be creative in the way you say no. Be creative in the way you commit. Okay? And so don't use these bad words from now on. Don't say I must, I have to, the norm is, therefore I will do it also, or I should do it, otherwise what will they say? You know, and usually this is all revolving around people, right? This idea of pleasing people, meeting people's expectations, being noticed by people, being appreciated by people. This, wallahi, this is a disease of the ummah today, right? We are obsessed with what people will say, and we forget what Allah will say. We are more concerned about, you know, if people notice us, and we don't regard what if Allah notices us or not. And you know, social media and likes and shares and comments is all about this idea of, you know, what will they say? How many likes will this video get? How many likes will this comment get? How many shares? How many comments will this update get, right, on my Facebook? And so this is wallahi a big, big, big test and trial for us. This is all ego issues, right? Where you're just obsessed with others. And you know, I actually go far enough to say that this is like a kind of a form of shirk, because you have made people an idol that you start worshiping now besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You are deciding based on what people say, not based on what Allah says, and that is actually a form of shirk. And so, you know, a classic example of this is, oh my God, why did I sign up for this? Okay, and mashallah, you're all Sharia students, so I'm sure that many of you are active in da'wah and voluntary work and community service. And so, you know, I know sometimes the himma, you know, like you have this drive and energy and desire to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sign up for projects and charity, you know, work and all this kind of stuff. And then, you know, you notice after a while that you basically did a wrong decision. You took the wrong decision. You signed up for something that you didn't have time for, and now you're stressed out and priorities are completely messed up. So do you have the courage to say no, right? Saying no requires courage. Wallahi, this needs courage, and many of us, because we don't have that courage, we tend to say yes. We just become shy. We become kind of like easygoing, and we just to please others. We're embarrassed to say no. But there's nothing wrong with saying no. Wallahi, there is nothing wrong with saying no, especially in our age. Remember, if you are someone who keeps saying yes, who are you going to be like? You're going to be like Mr. Non-essentialist. You're going to be flooded with yeses. You're going to be buried in them, and it's going to burn you out. And this is what your life will look like. Just like, wallahi, this picture speaks 1,000 words, you know? You're always just trying to please others, and what happens to yourself? You burn out, right? You become the dhahiyya, you become like the sacrifice. And, you know, many people have this wrong concept that this is what sacrifice is about. This is sacrifice fi sabilillah. I'm sacrificing for Allah's sake. You know, this is completely not in line with the teaching of the Quran. By the way, the word tadhiyya does not even exist in the Quran, right? Allah does not want you to suffer to please others. Allah does not want you to get stressed out and burn yourself out. This Allah calls in the Quran dhulm al-nafs. This is basically you being unjust to yourself at the expense of pleasing others. Okay? And this, you will be held accountable for that. Does this mean you don't care about others? Obviously not, right? We have to care about others. We have to serve others. Our deen is all about collective work, collaboration, and serving others. But here we're talking about the attitude, right? The proper word for this in the Quran is ithar, right? Favoring others over yourself. And this is, you know, we learned it from the seerah, the Sahaba. You know, they would share everything together. They would be willing to sacrifice, you know, everything for their brothers, right? This idea of brotherhood and ukhuwah. But that's called ithar. And what's beautiful about ithar, it's different than sacrifice. Sacrifice means you do something, but you're miserable. You're feeling negative about it, right? But you're doing it anyway just to please others. Ithar is when you do something for others, but you are happily doing it. You're doing it out of love for them, genuine love and care for them, and you're happily doing it. There's no negative emotions there, right? You're happily helping others at the expense of yourself because you want to please them, you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you want to gain the reward. So this idea of ta'a again, right? It's not kurh. You're not doing it with a feeling of detestation. You're doing it lovingly, happily, and you're not burning yourself out. So when it comes to elimination, brothers and sisters, you know, probably from today onwards, you're going to have to uncommit to certain things. You're going to have to think of what are the non-essentials in my life that I have to cut down. Wallahi, yani, I'll share with you my personal experience with this, you know, learning curve is, wallahi, today television for me is out of my life. You know, I have TVs in my house. It's not like I threw the TVs out, but wallahi, I don't have time to watch TV. You know, even if I wanted to, I don't have time. Every now and then, yes, but for the most part, wallahi, there's no time. Why? Because it's a Q4, right? Just drop it. My phone, there's not a single game in there. Maybe there's 1 or 2 games that my daughter downloaded behind my back that she plays, right? But wallahi, no time to play video games on my phone. Again, that's not haram. I'm not saying it's haram, you shouldn't do it. But again, depends on your life, right? What are things that you want to achieve in life? If for you, playing a video game for 20 minutes is your idea of fun, halal fun, then fine, do it. If your idea of watching TV for 20 minutes, just for some like halal entertainment, fine, do it, right? But I'm just sharing with you my experience that when it comes to, you know, doing big things in life and having big visions, and you know, you have to drop certain things. Sometimes friends, right? You're gonna have to uncommit to certain friends that are pulling you into the wrong things. That doesn't mean you become enemies with them, but you gotta slowly and creatively, you know, cut it down, right? And uncommit. If you are like, for example, volunteering for 5 projects, maybe you're gonna have to cut them down and call up the, you know, the leader and say, you know what, brother or sister, you know, I'm sorry, but I committed for this, I know, but wallahi, yani, I can't do this anymore. And then they will hate me for saying this, because all of a sudden now all of these volunteers are leaving their work. So I'm not saying that don't volunteer, please. Okay, don't get me wrong, okay? Wallahi, volunteering is a great act of, and it's, by the way, yani, our idea of serving the community, this is not optional, right? Tawasaw bil-haq. This is part of Surah Al-Asr. It's one of the criteria of passing this exam, right? So you gotta be serving the community, whether it's da'wah, whether it's volunteer work, charitable work, whatever it is, you gotta be doing something, okay? But don't flood yourself with that. Don't be a superhero and try to flood yourself, right? And then set boundaries. Use this, you know, you have to be creative in setting boundaries. There's this idea of freedom that comes with setting boundaries for yourself, you know? When there's, like, for example, when it's time to, for you with your wife, for example, shut off your phone or put it on airplane mode. Airplane mode is a great form of setting boundaries, right? Because you're disconnecting yourself from the world, from WhatsApp, from Facebook, from Instagram, from everything, all sorts of distractions. You're giving quality time to your wife. That's what she needs. And you are spending time together, you're talking about important things, you are free to spend time together. There's nothing that's going to distract you. And you know, in hotel rooms, this is great. Whenever I travel, I use this sign a lot. When I'm, you know, usually when I travel, I love to read. And therefore, the D&D sign, the do not disturb sign, is great, because the moment you put it out, the cleaners aren't going to knock on your door, you know? And it gives you full freedom to on the parents' doors, right? And 3 times of the day. Why? Because these are boundaries that need to be respected, and this is the freedom that the parents get with themselves. So use boundaries effectively. Use the airplane mode. Let your friends know your schedule so they don't disturb you. Like, you know, my friends already know weekends I'm unavailable, and so they don't disturb me. They don't say, hey, let's go out for shawarma or something. They know that I'm spending time with my family. And so, you know, fix a schedule for yourself. Wallahi, there's so much more that we can talk about. But again, you know, I was told that this webinar is going to be short and sweet, although it took about an hour and a half from your valuable times on a weekend. May Allah reward you for, you know, being patient with me. And may He accept, inshallah, what we're trying to do, and may He make us realize the importance of you know, time and how it's related to our life. Just to recap very quickly, so what was part 1? Part 1 was about the grand deception, al-hakum al-takathur, this idea of accumulating more and more and more, the undisciplined pursuit of more, which will get you out of this idea of na'im, right? Make your life misery. That's the non-essentialist. And at the same time, part 2 was balance, the importance of balance, roles, right? And the rights and responsibilities we have towards Allah, the rights and responsibilities we have towards ibad, like other people, and the rights and responsibilities you have for yourself. And do not neglect yourself. Please, please, please stop burning yourself. Stop doing dhulm to your nafs. And lastly, the process of elimination, this idea of cutting out the Q4s in your life, and limiting the Q3s, delegating the Q3s, and just being someone who is focused on the essentials. Make, like, that list you wrote down of the things you're going to do before you die. Frame that, right? And look at it every day, and try to think of a way to design and schedule your day and your week throughout these Q4s. Bring these Q4s to life, right? Take action today. And I'm not saying this is going to happen overnight, right? You're going to have to do it gradually, take baby steps, but add these Q4s in your life and start the journey, right? Take the baby steps towards the journey. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, does not hold us accountable for results, rather than He holds us accountable for our efforts. And therefore, start whatever it is you want to do, however big it is. Start the Q2s in your life, eliminate the Q4s, delegate the Q3s, and inshallah, with that, we conclude today's webinar. And I hope that inshallah, going forward, I really wish that all of you live a life of na'im. This idea of as-sirat al-mustaqim, sirat alladhina an'amta alayhim, the path of those who are blessed with this na'im, this joy, this inner peace and happiness that comes with our deen, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to be suffering. He doesn't want us to be stressed out and depressed and loaded and flooded. Rather, He wants us to be people who know our essentials, who are focused, who have clarity in our life, and who know clearly what our rights and responsibilities are, and we know our priorities. Before I end, I'd like to also, inshallah, send you all, or share with you, I've written an ebook called Life Hack, which talks about the importance of having vision in your life, which is a complementary workshop to this idea of time management. Because remember, without having a vision in your life, you probably don't even care about time management, right? And so inshallah, I hope one day to maybe do another seminar on this idea of discovering your vision, right? I have this workshop called Discover Your Vision, where you do the it's a intensive workshop to go over all the important things that help us discover what our passion and what our talent and gift is, and how we can use it to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and live a meaningful life. And so I've written a short ebook that inshallah I'll get sent out to all of you who've registered today as a gift from me. Please feel free to read it, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget me in your du'as. Jazakumullahu khairan, subhanakallah bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. And I'll pass it over to the sisters for the question answer session.
MashaAllah, that was an amazing session. Jazakallahu khairan, Fahad. I hope this session was equally beneficial for all the others. Okay, now we are open to questions. We have already received a few questions from our attendees, so we'll be starting, inshallah. The first question we have with us is, with Ramadan coming up very quickly during exam session, how could we manage sleep, especially with the short night? And how can we manage sleep in general?
Great question, mashallah. So, there's different theories of what's the ideal number of hours to sleep. Some say it's 8 hours, some say it's 7 hours. Honestly, my view is that there's no specific set of hours, but sleep is extremely important. Wallahi, I can't emphasize this more. You gotta sleep is a right that your body has upon you, and therefore you have to sleep enough. Lack of sleep can cause diseases, illnesses, your stress level and your mood, your energy level. It affects everything negatively. So make sure you're sleeping enough. Again, the prophetic way is to sleep early, right? Sleep after, there's just some tips. After Isha, don't talk much, go to sleep early, wake up before Fajr, do your 2 rak'ah, qiyam al-layl, whatever. Go to Fajr, stay awake after Fajr, use the time after Fajr. The Prophet said, "Buraka li ummati fi that these early hours, there's barakah in them. And so use them wisely, right? do exercise, do your Quran, read your book, study, whatever it is you want to do, plan your next project or something after Fajr. And then the prophetic sunnah is to add the qaylula, because when you follow this lifestyle, right, when you stay awake after Fajr, you're probably going to be extremely drained out by noontime. And that is exactly the time for qaylula. Qaylula is basically that afternoon or noon siesta. It's usually 20 to 40 minutes, not very long, right? Take a short nap. I usually take it in my car, right, with the AC on, even if I'm at work during lunch break after the Salat al-Dhuhr. We just take a small short nap to get that energy boost, and then again you sleep as early as possible after Isha. Stay away from the long nights. In Surah Al-Falaq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we seek Allah's help and protection from min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab, the darkness of the night as it approaches, right? So there's evil in the night. That's where most of the evil happens. Stay away from night. Some scientists also say that staying awake at night causes illnesses and disease in your body. Why? Because you're going against your body clock. Our body by fitra naturally are designed to wake up early when it's the sun rises, and to sleep when it's dark. And that's, if you notice, babies when they're born and young kids, they usually wake up like the moment the sun comes out, and they're the first ones to go to sleep. Why? Because their fitra is salima. They're in their pure fitra. But we corrupt our fitra. Another tip is stay away from eating late dinners. Avoid caffeine as much as possible. It messes up your sleep big time. Try to minimize exercise at night because it will freshen you up. It's better to exercise early in the morning, and just basically eat healthy, right? Eat healthy, eat light, small portions, healthy food. Stay away from the junk food and the baklawas and the samosas and the pakoras. Next question.
Barakallahu Feek, brother. The next question we have is from Sister Ruqayya. She asks, I am a stay-at-home mom. Now that I'm studying, I only find time to actually study during night. The day is usually spent with household work and taking care of children. This is causing stress in my life. Things are just going to get more tough in Ramadan. Do you have any tips for me?
So yes, this idea of stress, not a good idea. This is going to have big impact on your family, on your health, and so try to. Wallahi, I mean, this is a special case, and as a life coach, I usually work with certain individuals on a one-on-one basis to really understand their schedule in depth, to see what tweaks we can do. It's very, very difficult to answer this question given the limited information I have. But in general, use the time after Fajr, sister. Your kids are sleeping by then, that time, you're not doing any cooking. Yeah, that would be my advice. Try to sleep early, wake up early, even before Fajr if you can, like at 3 o'clock or something, and get those things, get your university and your college studies done in the early hours. Wallahi, it will help you more. You have more energy and more barakah, inshallah. Next question.
Barakallahu Feek. That answers the question sent by Sister Mariam as well. Next, we have a question from Sister Fauzia, who asks, how can we get rid of idleness?
Idleness, if I understand correctly, means being idle, having nothing to do. Usually, these people are bored, there's nothing to do, there's emptiness, there's nothing meaningful going on, right? Nothing important in their lives. So they're just, obviously that's free time that's being wasted with nothing meaningful. So the solution for that is having a vision. In very simple terms, you gotta, inshallah, be inspired to do something big with your life. Without a vision, you're gonna have an idle life. You're gonna have no clarity, right? No direction, no sense of purpose. And so I highly, highly recommend you to, inshallah, explore this journey of what is it I can do in my life? What is my purpose in life? Why did Allah create me? What is the gift that Allah has blessed me that I can use to serve this deen, to live a meaningful life, to serve humanity and make this world a better place, and leave behind a legacy before I die? So short answer, start exploring and discovering your vision.
Next, we have a question from Brother Muhammad. He's asking, does qaylula mean sleeping?
Yes, so brother, qaylula means deep sleeping, actually. If I go even more technical terms, right? What happens is when we sleep, we go into these certain cycles, sleep cycles, and the peak of that is what's known as the rapid eye movement stage, the REM. You could Google this stuff up. What happens is rapid eye movement, you know, our body becomes extremely active, our heart beats faster, and, you know, linking it to our deen, this is the time probably, no one can say for sure, probably this is the time when the ruh leaves the body. And this is the time when we dream, and this is the essence of sleep, actually, right? But till today, the scientists have not concluded what goes on with sleep. It's still a mystery. But Allah has told us that, you know, the nafs or the ruh leaves the body during sleep, and it comes back. And the Prophet has also told us that sleep is the sister of death. And so qaylula is a deep sleep, and you know, you're gonna probably have a couple of dreams during that 10-20 minute nap, and you're probably gonna wake up and see your eyes will be red when you look at them in the mirror because of that rapid eye movement, which means that you've had enough sleep. So it is a proper deep sleep. Yeah. Next.
Barakallahu fi. Next question is, I work at night. Any tips for me? Not getting a day job that pays me enough. So this brother is basically working night shift.
Very tough question, brother. Honestly, I myself have certain friends and cousins who work night shift, and I always wonder how in the world do these people manage their time? Yani how, you know, wallahi, it's I really don't know, because, you know, I haven't experienced this. But for you, I'm guessing your entire day is like completely a reverse of everyone else, right? So you gotta really try to kind of do whatever we said in reverse, right? So, because you're probably sleeping during the day and awake all night, so you gotta be doing everything we said, just apply it to the night time, right? Or the time of that you're awake, right? But wallahi, it's a very good question, and I honestly don't have experience enough to be able to answer. And like they say, sometimes if you don't know, it's better to say I don't know. Next question, please.
This is the last question we have from Sister Fiza. How do we strike a balance between having a clear goal and following what I would do if I have only 1 month, as that list is for short-term things?
Okay, so the way it works is you have a clear goal, a clear objective, a clear vision in life. It's broken down into multiple roles, multiple objectives for each role, and these roles or these objectives then get drilled down into what we call intermediary visions, and that gets broken down into time management, right? So to achieve those visions, you got to have a, you know, let's say a 5-year vision, 1-year vision, and then the 1-year vision is broken down into monthly visions for each month, and that monthly vision is broken down into weekly things to do and daily to-do lists. So really it's about making those connections, right? What are the bigger goals in life? Break them down into milestones, and then those milestones are broken down into things to do. So you have like an annual things to do list that you review, right, regularly. You have a monthly to-do list that you review every week. Then you have a weekly to-do list that you review every day, and you have a daily to-do list. So you need to basically get used to getting things done while being aware of the bigger goals and objectives, and dividing your time effectively throughout the day. And wallahi, once you manage your week, your entire life will be, inshallah, in order, bi'idhnillah.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Fahad. With this, we come to an end to our today's webinar. I would like to thank everyone for your active participation. I hope and pray that you enjoyed and benefited immensely from this session. We'll meet again inshallah on 20th of this month with our Ramadan retreat series. Till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.